Welcome to Our Own Voice, a partnership in mental health awareness in cooperation with NAMI Wichita and KSUN Community Radio. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. We are the largest grassroots advocacy network for people with mental illness and their family members, with over 800 national affiliates and 15 Kansas affiliates, with NAMI Wichita being one of those 15. We provide awareness, support, education, and advocacy for people affected by mental illness. Our purpose here is to provide a community conversation on KSUN Community Radio that provides insight into what it's like to live with mental illness. Our intention and hope is that our program will change attitudes, assumptions, and stereotypes about people with mental health conditions. My name is David Larson. I am very pleased and proud to be your host today, and I am a person with mental illness. I am in recovery for major depressive disorder. Like everyone, I struggle with the ups and downs of emotions and the challenges of being fully human, but I am doing great. And I know that I have many gifts to offer my family, my friends, and my community. And it is my pleasure to introduce our guest for today, Dennis. Dennis, say hello to our listeners.
Hello.
Wonderful. So, Dennis, we were talking before the program started, and I asked you where you were born, and you said Leavenworth.
Mm-hmm.
So, about how long did you live in Leavenworth?
About 35 years.
35 years, okay. And there was a time there where you spent some time in Lawrence.
Yeah, just a few weeks.
Just a few weeks,
Yeah.
okay. And about when were you diagnosed?
1978.
1978, okay. And your diagnosis is?
Paranoid schizophrenia.
Okay. And now that paranoid schizophrenia, that changed to
Schizoaffective depressive type.
Right. And
that's kind of a new situation, is it not?
yeah, to explain that to our listeners and to you, Mike, schizoaffective disorder is when you have schizophrenia along with a mood disorder. Mm-hmm. And so Dennis's case, your mood disorder is depression.
Yeah.
And then you have the schizophrenia on top of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, and you grew up in Leavenworth that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to say hello to the people in Leavenworth, if they can hear us?
Yeah, hello.
Actually, if they go online, they can't hear us.
That's right.
However, this is a community radio station meant to communicate to the people of Wichita.
That's true. That's true. So you know David, our David Peterson, because you attend Breakthrough.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
How long have you been attending Breakthrough?
For about 5 years.
For about 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
If you go to Breakthrough for 5 years, are you considered an old timer?
No.
No, there's
Is there people that have been there for a long time?
We've had
40 years.
yeah.
One gal. Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, okay. So you've been.
So he's a newbie then.
Yeah. So
See.
you're a member of Breakthrough, and what do you like doing the most at Breakthrough?
Well, I lift weights there. I help in the kitchen and different things. It's just good to be around people with this mental illness that you have a common ground with, you know.
Fair enough. That makes sense. Now, you work in the kitchen. Is that you clean up? Do you cook? Are you a great cook?
No, sometimes I help prep food and mop, do dishes, and vacuum and all that.
Well, if you prep food, you sound like a cook to me. So I'm going to consider you a good cook.
Hey,
Yeah.
I got some potatoes I need for you to peel for me.
Hey, that's the way to do it. So, let's see. So, what are some of your hobbies?
I like lifting weights. I've been journaling since about 2011 and about my feelings and my relationship with God, and I hope to one day maybe write a book. And
Well, I think that you should. You
Wonderful.
should do that. You should.
Yes.
You should compile all of those into a book, and
yeah, that's what I want to do.
that'd be really cool. Yeah.
Okay. So you like journaling, you like lifting weights.
I do a little art stuff.
Do
I used
you?
to do a lot of art, but kind of got away from it.
What type of art? What are you thinking?
I paint,
Paint.
just
I see.
yeah, and draw.
Okay. So
So you do have a creative side to yourself, then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time in the Bible, and it's just amazing how spiritual and how great God is.
yes, that can be a tremendous help for anyone who's battling mental illness.
Yeah, it helps a lot. That and the right medication and being around the right people.
Yes. That's true. Well, I want to take a moment to offer a thank you to our production team, David Peterson, who's our executive producer, and Mike Padilla, our technical producer. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, this is Our Own Voice on KSUN Community Radio, and we are going to take a quick break, and we will be right back in just a moment. Welcome back to Our Own Voice, a partnership in mental health awareness in cooperation with NAMI Wichita and KSUN Community Radio. NAMI is a National Alliance on Mental Illness. Our Own Voice is intended to humanize the misunderstood, highly stigmatized topic of mental illness by showing that it's possible and common to live well with a mental health condition. So, Dennis, what can you tell us about your story that helps us to have a deeper understanding as to what you've been through? What are some stories that you can share with us?
Well, I had some dramatic stuff happen when I was younger, and didn't really understand mental illness or how to explain my diagnosis. Nobody ever told me, but coming to Wichita, I've learned a lot, and I try to cope with it. You know, some days are harder and some are not. Some things seem overwhelming. You know, for most people take for granted, and I don't know. I just kind of just go with it. Try to.
Just try to work with it, huh?
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
we were talking about earlier in the break about the coping skills.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that obviously helps get a person through the day.
Yeah. So what are some of your coping skills that you use? You know, I know you mentioned journaling, and
Yeah,
that's a hobby and can also be a coping
Oh yeah,
skill.
yeah, I would think it
Yeah.
would be.
Well, I hear voices, and to me, they're real, and it seems like they try to degrade me and all this. But
So do you ever write down what they say to you in your journal?
No, I tried that before, but mostly I try to ignore them. But you know, I don't know what it is. You know, they try to. I don't know. They don't. They're just hard to deal with sometimes, but I use a lot of coping skills like processing things, why it is the way it is, and
But you talked about art too, didn't you?
Yeah.
You talked
Yeah.
about being. So are you still are you painting? Are you
No,
a
I'm not
graphic artist? Or?
doing none of that much lately.
Well, when you journal, do you do any positive self-talk or any journaling with positive thoughts?
Yeah, I'll just write out how I feel, and then sometimes it's pretty bad, and then somehow I end up writing something that makes me feel like I can cope with it. Because journaling's helped a lot just to understand myself, and mostly it's my relationship with God and His Word in my life.
That can definitely be a big coping skill is
Yeah.
your faith.
But it helps you focus on what you focus your thoughts on what's important and what's not important and those kinds of things.
I get hung up and I'll think something's real in a person, but it's not, and I just reason it out. It's hard. It's hard to explain.
Well, we appreciate you trying to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I
Yeah.
mean, seriously, that's
Yeah.
So how long have you had a strong faith in God?
Well, I was brought up in church, and then after so long, my mom quit taking us to church, and I started hanging around the wrong crowd at a pretty early age. And first time I heard voices, I didn't really know what was going on, and
Was that kind of scary then?
yeah, and they all sound like friends I grew up with and people I know now and all that. My family, I sometimes hear them.
Let's talk about your family for a moment. How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I got one brother and 3 sisters.
Okay. So did you are you the youngest or the oldest?
Youngest.
You're the youngest. All right, let's hear it for the youngest. Hey. You bet. High five. High five. Because I'm the youngest, and yeah, I believe that you got to support the youngest.
and I'm here to tell you that if you're not careful, you'll put your eye out.
You're the oldest. Huh?
Well, why, yes, I am.
All right. So being the youngest, did you have a good childhood growing up?
Yeah, pretty much. My family, my dad taught me work ethic at a young age, and my mom always said, take a bath. I told her once I wasn't, and that didn't go well.
Yeah.
But it was pretty good. I mean, there wasn't a lot of touchy-feeling emotions, but they didn't say they loved me once, but they always showed it.
They always showed it.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
Oh,
That's good.
That is
I've always
very good.
been fortunate for a great family, because I know a lot of people came up hard times, very hard.
Well, Dennis, we're talking with Dennis here, and he's going to stay with us. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
If you would like to learn more about the National Alliance on Mental Illness and how you can get involved in mental health advocacy, please visit our website at NAMI.org.
Welcome back to Our Own Voice, a partnership in mental health awareness in cooperation with NAMI Wichita and KSUN Community Radio. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. So, Dennis, we were talking during the break about some of the things that you've already talked about, your coping skills, things like that. But I'm going to throw a wild curveball at you. I hope you'll bear with me. What are some words of positiveness or words of hope that that you use for yourself that you can share with our listeners? Yeah, see, I told you that was going to be a curveball. Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently he can't hit a curveball. So
I've never been a good thrower, so that's probably why.
Well, I kind of wondered when I saw you approach the pitching mound.
Well, I went through a lot of mental health, psychosocial classes, cognitive, and all that, and that's helped me learn to cope. I mean, I could probably teach it myself, being mentally ill for 40 years.
So you think that being aware of your illness is good?
Yeah, yeah. I knew all I knew way back then was that I hear voices.
Yeah, and see, but that's the problem. It's like when somebody gets sick, that's what they want to know. It's like, well, what's wrong with me? Well, when it's a mental illness, it's not always it's not always that easy to explain exactly what's wrong with you.
Exactly.
you
But
know, and how
but-
that works.
But having the classes behind you, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I went through a battery of classes at ComCare, and wonderful things like cognitive behavior therapy, which helps you understand the different vantage points and viewpoints of things. That's where I developed the ability to do positive self-talk for my own self.
I'd like to
And-
interject that that's the same thing that Dennis and you guys are talking about right now is prevalent in the family too.
Yes, it
and
is.
The NAMI family to family class has given me so much insight as to what my loved one is going through.
And you've learned that the positive self-talk is something that they have to build up in themselves, right?
Exactly. But what I really received out of the family to family was knowing what that person, my son, was going through, and that I had no idea. And he hears voices too, and it's just amazing what the class will do to help you understand.
Well, Dennis, what friendships have you built at Breakthrough?
Well, oh yeah, I got some good friends there, and they're good and honest. It's real good to have somebody like that, because when you around other people, I mean, you don't want to say, "Hey, I'm mentally ill," and
But see, what they would want to do, or perhaps they would want to do, is take advantage of you if they
Yeah.
thought that they could.
Yeah, and when you're mentally ill, sometimes you can get in that rut where there's like a black cloud over you all the time, and you worry about what other people might be thinking about you, and you got to keep positive and just rational thinking. And,
Yeah, that's one of those topics that we talk about a lot here at Our Own Voice, is the whole issue of stigma, and how we've got to rise above stigma ourselves so that we can help the rest of the world rise above stigma.
But see, that's difficult, in that if I am aware that I have some difficulties, I have some issues, and I tell somebody, then it's up to them not to use that against me, right?
Yeah.
But I have to try and tell people to dispel the stigma that people that have mental illness can't get along in society at all, and they
Exactly.
can.
Thank you.
and a lot of people that haven't been diagnosed with mental illness, they don't have perfect mental health either, and
Well, that's true too. Yeah.
they're not maybe clinical, but they have some of the same problems as us. They just don't have the voices and moods.
Well, they don't have it to do this. Everybody has it to a certain degree, let's
right?
say,
Yeah.
to a certain
Yeah.
extent.
And well, it's like when the last time I was hospitalized, they would ask me the question, "Do you hear voices? Do you see things?" They would take me through all this stuff, and I just have depression. I don't know whether that's really a just or not, but it is. How do I put this?
It's difficult.
It is
I know
difficult.
it is. You can't. It's difficult to explain.
And I mean, I have to face those options. That they may arise sometime.
I kind of think that that's where your faith comes in, because you can't explain God.
That's
But
right.
you can't explain the voices in your head. You know that they both exist, right? But it's just difficult to get a grasp on exactly how it all works.
That's exactly it. So
Yeah, the Bible really helps a lot. I try
Does
to
it?
imitate, what the Bible says and how to cope that way. And most of my help comes from reading the Bible. And
well, I've got to take a break now. So this is Our Own Voice on KSUN Community Radio, and we will be right back. Welcome back to Our Own Voice, a partnership in mental health awareness in cooperation with NAMI Wichita and KSUN Community Radio. NAMI is a National Alliance on Mental Illness. Now, David, before the break, we were talking with Dennis, and now we're going to jump to you and ask for you to give us some information on NAMI Wichita.
Well, first number that you need to remember out there is 316-686-1373. 316-686-1373. And when you call that number, we'll get back with you as soon as we can. We don't answer that every day, but we will answer as soon as we can and get back with you and share with you what we have, and also be able to send you out a flyer maybe. I've really appreciated what Mike just got through saying about stigma. And I think Dennis will attest to this. The Breakthrough Club is probably one of the most stigma-free places in Wichita. And the blessing on that is that's one of NAMI's goals, is to eliminate stigma.
Yes.
But we have programs, we have support groups. We're a nonprofit organization that we are all volunteers. But I'd love for you to call that number, and I'd be happy to send you out a brochure with the times of when we have our meetings and our support groups. And because we have family support, we have peer support, we have family-to-family classes, we have
peer-to-peer classes.
Peer-to-peer classes.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to cover the whole spectrum of not only the person that has the mental illness, but also the family that has someone in their family that has a mental illness.
And we have a special program that our radio show is sort of modeled after. The radio show is called Our Own Voice, and we have a program called In Our Own Voice.
That is correct.
Where peers, those of us who are living with mental illness, are able to go and share about our experience and what happens, what is life. So
please call 316-686-1373 or 316-686-1373. And we'll try to get back with you as soon as possible, but we have these classes and meetings and support groups, and we just feel like it's very beneficial for all those involved.
You bet.
There's
All
help.
right.
There's help out there, right?
There is, and
Okay.
and one of those places to help is Breakthrough Club, and something that I was going to get to earlier and I didn't, and so I'm going to touch on it now, and that is one of the things that we deal with in depression is isolation. Mike, you mentioned this, that isolation is something it tends to keep you at home, isolated, away from people, but that's the one thing that you have to combat and work against. And Breakthrough Club is a great place to do that. Isn't that right, Dennis?
Yeah.
All right. So at Breakthrough Club, you get the experience of doing tasks and chores, and helps give you a sense of worth and value. And you also meet people. What other activities do you do at Breakthrough Club?
Oh, they have outings. They in-house or out. They go to restaurants sometime and they'll play bingo. There are games. Tonight they're doing Christmas decorations.
Ah, okay.
But anyway, I always look forward to Monday. You know, most people don't like Monday, but I really, I have a little trouble more on the weekend, and sometimes I want to sleep all weekend, but I've been making myself get up and do something. But Monday's about my favorite day.
Is
Because
it?
you-
That's good.
You go into Breakthrough pretty early on that.
yeah, usually. But
Okay. And that's when you work in the kitchen, or do you do any clerical work? We've had some
I
people
do
here.
that too. Yeah.
Okay. We've had some
Sometimes
people
if I
who
don't
do
have-
clerical work.
If I don't have the energy to do other things, I'll do that.
Okay.
I kind of think
you're not
he's.
saying that clerical people don't have energy, are you?
No.
Because I was behind the desk all my life.
Yeah, right.
No,
We just heard from Mr. Bump on the Rug, bump on the
I
log
guess
guy.
Use your mind more than your brawn.
Yes, that's very true. That's a key point.
What's that?
You use your mind more when you are behind that desk because you're thinking various directions and everything. When you are doing a chore or activity, your mind is focused on that single chore and activity. At least that's how I am. So I have to wrap my brain around things more when I am sitting behind a desk doing clerical jobs. So
Well, everybody's different, though, too.
yeah, that's true.
So.
Yeah, there are some
But I
people who
think
can
that
do multiple things.
The thing that what you originally started talking about was isolation.
That's
And
right.
We need to
Thank
be
you.
around people.
That's right.
basically.
Being around people and just getting yourself out of that shell that you tend to build yourself into.
So you can sit behind the desk as long as there's people in front of you at
Uh-huh.
the desk, I guess. I don't
Right.
know.
Right. So people asking questions, and
Right.
you, Dennis, have helped people with questions and problems, and you help solve things.
We all kind of do that together, not just the staff, but
Okay.
yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us for Our Own Voice on KSUN Community Radio. Thank you to Dennis.
Sure.
And thank you for everyone for listening. Join us again for our next Our Own Voice program.